Pokemon Sun and Moon might be the best installment in the 20-year-old franchise to date, and has become Nintendo's fastest-selling games in the Americas, selling a combined 3.7 million copies in just under 2 weeks, an impressive 85% increase over the last generation's X and Y. While there have been a lot of big changes, the newest additions to the Pokemon series are still loaded with one of my personal favorite parts of past games: ridiculous Pokédex entries. Whether they're creepy, unrealistic, or just plain silly, there's no shortage of questionable flavor text. So pack your bags because we're off to the tropical land of Alola to bring you the 9 most ridiculous Pokédex entries in Pokemon Sun and Moon. Number 9, Incineroar. Let's start off with a starter, or the final evolution of a starter, Incineroar. Incineroar would land the title of most jacked Pokemon of Sun and Moon were it not for Buzzwole. Sorry, Incineroar, but at least you weren't a firefighting type. You were just a wrestler that looks like it should be a firefighting type. However, that's not why this Pokemon makes the list. Its Dex entry from Moon reads, "After hurling ferocious punches and flinging furious kicks, it finishes opponents off by spewing fire from around its navel." It doesn't breathe fire, it shoots it out of its belly button. Does that make it an innie or an outie? Now, you might think that means that fire is launching from the belt around its waist, but cats don't have a belly button like you and I. There's more of a little scar located right under their rib cage. Now, what that means is that the WWE-sized fire belt Incinerator wears is pretty much only for show, similar to an actual WWE Championship belt. Number 8, Stuffle and Beware. Next on our list is a twofer, Stuffle and its evolution, Beware. These Pokies are ridiculous by their nature. They're made to look like teddy bears. Stuffle even has attack shape growth. It's a fake price tag made out of flesh. Yummy. Upon inspecting their Pokédex entries, one learns that these cuties are not something you want to be snuggling up against. Stuffle's Sun entry says, "Despite its adorable appearance, when it gets angry and flails about, its arms and legs could knock a pro wrestler sprawling." While Beware's Moon entry reads, "This Pokemon has a habit of hugging its companions. Many trainers have left this world after their spines were crushed by his hug." Wow. Why on earth would anyone ever keep a Pokemon prone to crushing its own masters? Because of their loving appearance and brutal Dex entries, Stuffle and Beware had to make the list. Number 7, Stoutland. Here's a Pokemon with an entry that provides some very odd world building. Stoutland, the trainer-carrying, item-sniffing terrier Pokemon. In past games, this normal-type puppy was often associated with shaggy fur and ability to rescue people stranded at sea or lost in the mountains. It wasn't until Sun and Moon that Stoutland also gained intelligent and good-natured to its descriptors. What gets this puppy Poke a spot on our list is its Dex entry from Moon, which says, "With this wise Pokemon, there could be no concern that it would ever attack people. Some parents even trust it to babysit." Listen, I know you want to go watch the Pokemon Championship at the bar, but for the last time, your dog isn't an adequate babysitter. Everyone thinks their dog is the smartest dog ever because it can fetch you beers from the fridge and knows not to pee in the house, but your child needs things like human affection and consistent discipline, things a dog isn't going to be able to provide. Then again, when we're talking about a world where kids are more or less on their own by age 10, then I guess even a bad babysitter is more childcare than normal. Number 6, Demise. The next Pokemon on the list is something straight out of a cliche joke about Stephen King's inability to create a good spook anymore. Demise is a mon I was just confused about. I mean, is it an old ship helm attached to an anchor? Why? Who thought of that? It wasn't until I read the Pokédex entry in Sun that I realized that Delmise's body is just the green seaweed bit. The soul of seaweed adrift in the waves became reborn as this Pokemon. It maintains itself with new infusions of seabed detritus and seaweed. Oh, spooky! I didn't know seaweed had a soul! That was the one part of sushi that I didn't feel bad about eating before. Also, this poor sentient seaweed died and then came back as itself, tangled up in garbage, and it survives by accumulating waste and what I have to imagine are the corpses of its dead brethren? There isn't a fate much worse than that. Number 5, Muck. The number 5 spot predicts the Poke-apocalypse and requires Pokédex entries from 2 forms of the same Pokemon, Muck. Now hear me out. So in Moon, the Dex entry for boring old Kanto Muck reads, "After recent environmental improvements, this Pokemon is now hardly ever seen at all. People speculate that it may go extinct at some point." But then there's its colorful toxic waste. Alolan Form's Moon entry, which states, "While it's unexpectedly quiet and friendly, it is not fed any trash for a while, it will smash its trainer's furnishings and eat up all the fragments. Now, here's the thing. Alolan Muck is only different because of its diet, as stated by Sun Dex Entry. Therefore, it's plausible that both Muck and its Alolan form share this destructive behavior when hungry. Those who thought Muck would just die out are just plain wrong. These things are going to be the downfall of civilization as we know it. The more green we get, the less trash there is for the Muck population to consume, which means they'll start destroying stuff for sustenance and leaving nothing but a trail of toxic rainbow pudding in their wake. Ooh, Muck. Number 4. Gus Lord. Sun and Moon introduce us to Ultra Beasts, bizarre intradimensional beings that are for some reason never called Pokemon despite the fact that they can be caught in special Pokeballs called Beast Balls and are registered in your Pokédex once captured. But whatever, they're Ultra Beasts. Fine. Gus Lord, codenamed UB-05 Glutton, is a monstrous dark dragon-type Poke Ultra Beast that is known for its never-ending hunger. Its Dex entry in Sun mentions that some have witnessed Gus Lord eat mountains and whole buildings. Mountains! For something that's only a bit taller than a one-story house and weighs about as much as an average four-door car does, that's pretty impressive. And as ridiculous as it is to imagine, that's not why it got on this list. For that, we have to look at its entry in Moon. A dangerous ultra beast, it appears to be eating constantly, but for some reason, its droppings have never been found. We're talking ultra dookie, or rather, lack thereof. Gus Lord not only comes from a wormhole, but its bowels must contain one too, because this thing can somehow consume whole mountains, never gain weight, and never defecate. Number 3, Turd Inator. I know what you all are thinking. Let's talk about poop some more. Turd Inator is a spiky turtle thing with a Zelda boss-styled weak point in the form of a massive hole on its belly. Its Pokédex entry from Moon reads, "It gushes fire and poisonous gases from its nostrils. Its dung is an explosive substance and can be put to various uses." This thing has explosive poop. Who comes up with this stuff? Game Freak, I want to be friends with whoever writes the Dex entries. But what I'm more curious about is, when do these droppings go boom? Is it instantaneous, in a few minutes, in a week? The entry says that poo has various uses, so have humans weaponized it? I mean, is excrement C4 a thing? There's just so many questions. And even with all that, I think what makes this one of my favorite entries is the fact that it sheds light on Turd Inator's battle stance. See, you might have thought it stood backwards in a squat position because the shell explodes when it hit, but the stance is multifaceted because this dopey looking turtle is always ready to pop out a dynamite turd. Number 2. Kadabra. The second to last entry has been around in different forms since Pokemon Emerald, but it made a return in Pokemon Sun and is just way too ridiculous not to mention. The mon in question is Kadabra, the middle evolution of the Abra line. The entry reads, "A theory exists that this Pokemon was a young boy who couldn't control his psychic powers and ended up transformed into this Pokemon." So this theory is stupid and also horrifying on 2 different levels. For one, if this is the origin story for Kadabra, how does that relate to the general population of the Abra line? And are they just all a bunch of kids that turn themselves into Pokemon through incompetence? If so, this world is in dire need of a psychic education program. The other horrifying aspect, every time you use this Pokemon, you are using a child. It's bad enough that Pokemon battles are glorified dogfighting, but now we're throwing human children into the mix? And with the games introducing breeding mechanics, you know what? We're just gonna stop this entry before we wind up on some kind of list. Number 1, Arachnid. Last on the list is a Pokemon that lands on the terrifying side of the ridiculous spectrum. Arachnid, the 6-foot-tall, 180-pound water spider. This thing is made up of nightmares, and its Pokédex entries from both Sun and Moon prove it. Despite what its appearance suggests, it cares for others. If it finds vulnerable, weak Pokemon, it protectively brings them into its water bubble. Its Moon entry reads. Now wait, that's adorable is probably what you're thinking, but hold on to your butts because Sun has an M. Night Shyamalan-esque twist for you. It delivers headbutts with the water bubble on its head. Small Pokemon get sucked into the bubble where they drown. Okay, did you just catch that? It finds vulnerable, weak Pokemon. It protectively brings them into its water bubble. Small Pokemon get sucked into the bubble where they drown. This thing is a monster. Going around pretending like it's going to protect little Pokies and then murdering them? Do you know how many Pokemon are shorter than Arachnid? I don't know, just shy of 600 out of the 802 known species. And not all those 600 Pokemon are going to get sucked in there. I get it. Water types won't, for instance. But I want this thing to be
be pure evil, so please, can we all just agree that Arachnid is a devilish monstrosity?
Well, there you go. 9 ridiculous Pokédex entries from Pokemon Sun and Moon. As I mentioned in the last one, there are now over 800 different Pokemon out there, plenty of which have absurd flavor text associated with them. So what I'm trying to get at is, we couldn't pick them all. If one of your favorites didn't make the list, please put the Dex entry in the comments below, and if you'd like to catch more content as it's released, make sure to subscribe to ArcadeCloud. Thanks for watching!